This is my Valentine, and you're watching Stephen Blocker's channel.
When I say Joey Wheeler, what comes to mind? Luck-based dice cards? The Red Eyes Black Dragon, perhaps? Jinzo? Maybe Brooklyn Rage if you're familiar with the Abridged series. But what about Time Wizard and Baby Dragon? The classic combo where Joey uses Time Wizard to make 1,000 years pass on the field, turning his opponent's monsters into fossils and relics, while Baby Dragon goes from spunky upstart with potential into a mighty 1,000-year-old dragon. The combo gave Joey so many victories, and was basically the game changer for him in every duel he played. Yep, everyone remembers all the time Joey pulled off the win with that combo, don't they? What if I told you that this combo didn't actually work as often as you would expect? Well, now how could that be? We all remember it, right? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of Joey Wheeler's duels and count how many times Time Wizard or Baby Dragon got him the win, or at least meaningfully contributed to his victory, i.e. giving him an advantage, helping him out. Joey's first duel in the tournament is against my Valentine. At the end, Joey pulls off Time Wizard and Baby Dragon, aging the Harpy ladies into brittle old women, and his Baby Dragon into an ancient powerful dragon, winning the game. So, a pretty strong start for these two. Let's see where it goes from here. Next up, Joey faces Rex Raptor. He does plan on using that combo here, but Baby Dragon ends up getting destroyed within the first turn. Time Wizard by itself, however, it gets the job done. The Red Eyes Black Dragon ends up being turned into a fossil and will probably be used to make gasoline in 1,000 years. Joey's third duel is against the zombie specialist, Bones. Once again, he pulls out Time Wizard. No Baby Dragon in sight at all in this duel. And to everyone's shock, Time Wizard fails. Yep, we see its negative effect. For the first and only time, it opens up a time void, destroying Joey's own monsters. Neither card will appear again until Joey competes in the semifinals of the Duelist Kingdom tournament, with his opponent Bandit Keith. Now, in this duel, he does use it. And we finally see Thousand Dragon again, for the second time ever. So how well does he end up doing here? Well, it does terrible. I mean, it does destroy Keith's top monster at the time, which is Barrel Dragon. But then, right after that, Keith activates Time Machine, reviving it, and then destroys Joey's Thousand Dragon. So all Time Wizard did this time was make Thousand Dragon, which just got destroyed in one turn. Well heck, he could have just summoned a normal monster. That was a total waste of resources there. And then finally, in his last duel of the Duelist Kingdom arc, the ultimate final battle between two best friends, Yugioh versus Joey. Joey uses Baby Dragon again, and we actually see it on its own, without being boosted by Time Wizard. It does a decent job, for a little while at least, mostly being protected from Dark Magician. But hey, it had its time in the sun. Joey then uses Time Wizard, and it really seems like he's about to get the victory with it. Nope. This time, Time Wizard directly causes Joey's defeat. Yugioh got to summon the Dark Sage, and then, well, he just won because Dark Sage is a stupidly powerful card. That's not fair at all, honestly. And really, that's the end of the Duelist Kingdom arc. At this point, Joey would mostly drop his Duelist Kingdom deck, including Time Wizard, and mostly play them for throwback and nostalgia purposes. His ace cards then would become the Skull and Graceful Dice combo, which were much more useful and prominently used than Time Wizard, as they end up defeating several boss monsters in the next arc. So let's recap what we have so far. Time Wizard has effectively won 2 duels, and only one time it won paired up with Baby Dragon, with 3 losses. I have to count the Bones duel as a loss, simply because even though he had won that duel in general, Time Wizard actively hurt him as it took out his own monsters. Against Keith, it was a non-factor and barely lasted a turn. And against Yugi, it basically just sabotaged his whole chance at winning. Baby Dragon, however, only has one true victory against My Valentine. And then one duel he barely gets out of the starting gate, and twice, while he did get to evolve, it wasn't for long and he was destroyed shortly after. Now obviously, because these two cards were so beloved, they do make plenty of appearances later. Mostly as filler, as many of the filler segments in the anime tend to focus a lot more on older nostalgia cards. But really, the combination of Joey using Time Wizard to make Thousand Dragon from this point will only come up 2 more times. Once Joey loses the Red Eyes Black Dragon at the start of the Battle City arc, Time Wizard becomes Joey's official rarest card, and the card he'll use as his anti-rule under the new winner gets the loser's rarest card bit. But otherwise, Time Wizard throughout the rest of the arc is just a trophy with very little usage. Thousand Dragon does get one last hurrah against Esperoba, Joey's first tournament battle in the Battle City storyline, where it's also destroyed in short order. Joey uses Time Wizard against the Jinzo monster, which fails because apparently Jinzo doesn't age. Where's that in the card text? And then finally, 70 episodes later, it makes one final return in the 3rd place duel with Joey and Kaiba. And guess what? It gets destroyed in one turn. Again. Why on earth do people remember this monster as being so dominant? And then it was never seen again. Off to the same dimension with Chuck Cunningham and Judy Winslow. So that brings the total for Time Wizard to 2 wins and 5 losses, and Baby Dragon with 1 win and 5 losses. So yeah, for an iconic duo, it really doesn't get that much success. It's there a lot, and Joey uses them quite a fair bit, but it's not the game winners they're made out to be. In fact, most of the time, they end up doing nothing or outright hurting Joey. As a bonus, let's go over the prominent uses of these cards when not used together. And since most of this is actually filler, it won't count in the scores. Time Wizard, due to being so iconic, does get a fair bit of love in filler. In the Legendary Heroes arc, it is the key item that grants them access to the ship that leads them to the final area. And then in the Doma arc, it's the card that's paired with Joey's Legendary Dragon. So that's really it for Time Wizard. How about his companion Baby Dragon? Well, it has other uses besides being aged up into Thousand Dragon. As a normal monster, it's a little below average with 1200 attack. But it does get its time in the sunlight for sure. Against Mako Tsunami, Joey summons it and fuses it with Alligator's Sword for a decent monster. It's able to attack directly if the opponent only plays water monsters. How convenient. I wish this got more screen time, honestly. I mean, it's kind of a cool monster. It's a sword-wielding alligator riding on the back of a dragon. Joey brings it out in the Virtual World arc. While it's not a duel, he does help out when they're being chased by the Big Five, so that's something. And then finally, against Yami Merrick. There's no Time Wizard in sight, and it doesn't really have a long-term function, but he does last a fair bit as a defense monster. So, in conclusion, these monsters actually surprisingly don't actually do all that well. These monsters actually surprisingly don't really do all that well. But they were iconic first-time monsters, so... But because they were introduced in the first season, they're super iconic. And I'm not gonna lie, I really like their designs. I really like Baby Dragon's color. He's orange, and he's got that mischievous grin. And then Time Wizard, well, he's a floating sentient clock. And I like how the clock hands give him a little mustache. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and tune in next time. See you there, folks. Have a good one.